don't judge.
I went to prison for 8.5 years because my own mom.
Oh my God.
A trauma survivor jokes about her mother's killing on TikTok. 13 million people watch. The internet erupts, and almost everyone is furious at the wrong person. Let's get into it. Before we get into any of this, I need to slow all the way down because this one is genuinely heavy and it deserves to be handled like it. This story involves a real woman who was killed. It also involves her daughter, a woman who survived nearly 20 years of horrific abuse before that killing ever happened. So we're going to hold two true things at the exact same time, the whole way through. That what happened on that TikTok was tactless, and a lot of people were right to be upset. And that the loudest version of this story, the one screaming that she's just a disgusting monster, is missing the much bigger, much darker picture. Stay with me on this one. Here's the event. In March of 2026, a TikTok goes up. It's Gypsy Rose Blanchard. You almost certainly know the name. Standing next to another creator named Natalie Reynolds, doing one of those viral trends. You've seen the format. Two people side by side. One confesses something embarrassing, the other gasps. And then they both say the catchphrase, "We listen and we don't judge." It's built for dumb, low-stakes confessions. Stuff like admitting you never gave your friend's sweater back. That's the whole engine of the trend. A tiny, harmless secret met with this big, warm, fake-shocked, "we don't judge." It only works when the confession is small. The entire format quietly collapses the second somebody brings something genuinely serious into it, which is exactly what makes what happened next hit the way it did. Except Gypsy doesn't bring a low-stakes confession. She looks at the camera and says, quote, "I went to prison for 8.5 years because I..." And then she pauses, makes a choking sound, crosses her arms over her chest like she's miming what happened. "My own mom." Natalie gasps. And Gypsy lands the punchline. "We listen and we don't judge." Within hours, it had 13 million views. And the internet absolutely lost it. And let me be straight with you right up front, because I'm not going to insult your intelligence. Did she make a joke about her mother's killing? Yes, she did. There's no spinning that. The comedic timing, the pause, the sound effect, the little pantomime, that was a bit. She used a comedy format to reference one of the most violent events imaginable. If your gut reaction watching it was, "That's not okay," your gut is not wrong. One of the top comments just said, quote, "There's absolutely nothing funny in this," and fair. So I'm not here to tell you the outrage came out of nowhere. It didn't. But here's where it gets complicated, because who she is and who put that camera in front of her changes this entire story. If you don't know Gypsy Rose's background, that joke just looks monstrous. Once you do know it, it gets a lot more uncomfortable than that, because Gypsy is one of the most documented abuse survivors in modern America. For the first 2 decades of her life, her mother, Dee Blanchard, did something to her that has an actual clinical name, Munchausen syndrome by proxy. In plain terms, Dee spent years convincing the world and the doctors that her perfectly healthy daughter was dying. She put Gypsy in a wheelchair she didn't need. She shaved her head to fake chemo. She forced unnecessary surgeries, a feeding tube, medications for diseases Gypsy never had, and used the lie to collect charity money and free trips. Gypsy was, functionally, a prisoner inside a fake illness for almost 20 years. In 2015, at the end of all of that, Gypsy conspired with a man she'd met online to have her mother killed, so she could finally escape. He's the one who carried it out. She pled guilty to second-degree murder and served 8.5 years. She was released at the end of 2023, and what happened next actually matters for this story. She didn't disappear. She became an industry, a memoir, a reality show, millions of followers almost overnight, a whole second act as a kind of redemption arc celebrity. The internet fell in love with the survivor who finally got free. Hold on to that, because it comes back around at the end. And here's the part we have to hold very carefully. Dee Blanchard was a genuine monster to her daughter, and she was also a human being who was violently killed. Both of those things are true at once. Her abuse does not make her killing okay, and her killing does not erase her abuse. That tension, that exact discomfort, is the whole reason this story is so hard for people to talk about honestly. So, why would somebody make light of the worst thing that ever happened to them? Well, anyone who works with trauma survivors will tell you this is incredibly common. It's called gallows humor. And it's a real, well-documented coping mechanism. When you've survived something unspeakable, sometimes joking about it is how you shrink it. How you take this giant, life-defining horror and make it small enough to actually carry. It's a way of telling yourself, this thing doesn't own me anymore. And that's basically what Gypsy said she was going for. In her own words afterward, she was trying to take a, quote, head-on approach to her past instead of hiding from it forever. The problem was never the coping mechanism. The problem was broadcasting it to 13 million strangers inside a goofy dance trend with zero context. What works in a therapy room or quietly between survivors is a catastrophe on a public feed. She misjudged that, badly. But that is a very different thing from a person cackling about a killing purely for fun. Now, the backlash itself was really 3 different mobs wearing the same coat. The first, and the biggest, was the moral one. People who just found it tasteless and disrespectful, full stop. That's a completely understandable reaction, and I'm not going to try to talk anyone out of it. The second group, though, went somewhere wild. They decided the video was a literal confession and started demanding she be retried and thrown back in prison. Quote, if this is a confession, then that's grounds for a retrial. Quote, send her back to jail. And I have to gently walk those people through how the law actually works. She already pled guilty. She already served her sentence. You cannot retry someone for a crime they were already convicted of and punished for. That's double jeopardy, and it's literally in the Constitution. A TikTok is not new evidence. There's no case to reopen. That whole wave of fury was built on people treating a real, closed criminal case like an interactive true crime show where they personally get a vote. And then there was the third group, and these were the people actually paying attention, because they stopped staring at Gypsy just long enough to ask the only question that really matters here. Who filmed this, and why? And that camp wasn't reaching, by the way. Professional commentators, people who cover this stuff for a living, looked at the collaboration and reached for words like manipulated and conniving. One of them flatly described Natalie to their audience as TikTok's most obnoxious rage baiter. They weren't out there defending the joke. They were pointing very deliberately at the hand holding the camera. Because Gypsy didn't post this. Natalie Reynolds did. And once you understand who Natalie Reynolds is, the whole thing flips on its head. Natalie Reynolds is what the internet calls a rage baiter. And that's not me being mean. That is, by all accounts, her actual business model. She makes content specifically engineered to make you furious, because fury is engagement, and engagement is money. And her track record is genuinely dark. She has a documented history of stunts that target vulnerable people, including one widely condemned incident where she reportedly offered a homeless woman $20 to jump into a lake and then took off when the woman, who couldn't swim, started screaming for help. That is the person who set up this video. And this is a pattern with her, not a one-off bad day. This is someone who's reportedly streamed while wearing a court-ordered ankle monitor and who responds to backlash by telling people, flat out, that she's not there to be forgiven. She doesn't want your approval. She wants your attention, in whatever furious form it shows up. Outrage isn't a side effect of her content. Outrage is the content. So look at what actually happened here. Structurally, you take Gypsy, a wildly recognizable figure, a trauma survivor, someone with basically no media training and a documented history of misreading social situations, and you place her in a format engineered for friction. The outrage wasn't a risk of that collaboration. The outrage was the product. It was the entire point of it. And if you had any doubt left about who the real operator was in this, just watch how the two of them handled the fallout, because they could not possibly have been more different. Gypsy panicked. She went to a mainstream outlet, sat down, and apologized. For real. She said, quote, I don't think it's funny to joke about a heavy topic in my past. She said the delivery was wrong. She owned that she tried something and it blew up in her face. That is a person who realized they hurt people and genuinely felt awful about it. Natalie? Natalie doubled down. She posted a follow-up video, not to apologize, but to scold everyone watching. Quote, you guys need to learn to move on. Basically, stop being mad. Gypsy already did her time, which almost sounds reasonable until you remember she's the one who manufactured the entire moment in the first place. And here's the real kicker. That defiant follow-up farms a whole second wave of engagement. The outrage video makes money, and then the video defending the outrage video makes money too. One of these people was drowning in a crisis, the other one was fishing in it. And notice where Gypsy went to say sorry. Not a quick throwaway TikTok, but a sit-down with a major outlet. That's what real damage control looks like. Someone genuinely scared they've hurt people and torched goodwill. It took years to rebuild. You don't do all that over a stunt you're proud of. You do it when you actually care how it landed. So let's actually answer the question everyone's screaming. Was the video tactless? Yes. Did it deserve criticism? Yes. Did Gypsy show genuinely poor judgment? Absolutely. And she said so herself. If the story stopped right there, that was a bad look, would be a perfectly fair verdict. But the story doesn't stop there. Because the version of this that's gone the most viral, Gypsy Rose is a disgusting monster cackling about murder, is the laziest and the most profitable read available. And it does exactly what the person who filmed it wanted it to do. It keeps every single eyeball locked on the trauma survivor and zero eyeballs on the professional provocateur who walked her into the buzzsaw and then sold tickets to it. The most honest word for this isn't disgusting, it's engineered. And here's the thing I genuinely can't shake, and I think it's the real lesson buried in all of this. We, collectively, love a redemption story, right up until the exact second it stops being convenient. We cheered Gypsy out of prison. We bought the books, we watched the shows, we followed along. We turned her healing into content. And the moment she misstepped, the moment she was a flawed, traumatized human being instead of a perfect, inspirational arc, a huge chunk of the internet turned on her instantly. And someone was standing right there, ready to profit off the turn. That's the actual story here. Not, a woman made a bad joke. It's a whole machine that adores survivors as content, until it becomes more lucrative to tear them apart. So the next time you feel that hot little rush of, how dare she, just pause for 1 second and ask yourself, who pointed the camera? And who is getting paid for me to be this angry? So I really want to hear from you on this one, because it is not simple. Where do you honestly land? Was it a line that shouldn't have been crossed? Or a vulnerable person getting set up by someone who knew exactly what they were doing? There's no wrong answer here. I just want the honest conversation. Drop it below, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one.